con su gran esplendor. Un abrazo a las raíces.
Hola, buenos días, and hello. My name is Edgar Pagán. I'm the band leader for Grupo Pagán, and I'm so humbled and honored to be invited to participate in this year's event, We're Barrio, celebrating the Latino culture, Latino music, food, the beauty in it, and also kicking off Hispanic Heritage Month. So it's just a pleasure to be here, and thanks so much por la invitación.
Hi, Edgar. It's such a pleasure to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Puerto Rican. My family is from Mayagüez. I've been in the States for quite a long time. My dad was in the Army, so we traveled around. But growing up, I always remember how my family, we spoke both English and Spanish in the house, embraced the Latino culture and the beauty in it. I remember the rhythms, my mom playing with forks and knives on the kitchen table and singing. She had a angelic voice, and how my friends would come over and they'd say, "We love hearing your mom sing," while she was cooking, making, ajo con gandules, pasteles, all the good stuff that we loved. And she would play the old, beautiful Spanish songs, music from Puerto Rico.
Oh, really?
So it kind of like, in a way, it got me into music, I would just enjoy it, and we would dance a lot, merengue. We loved merengue. My mom in the kitchen, my sisters would laugh. But, I'm a big believer in, the culture, embracing your culture, your heritage, no matter who you are. And I love not only, obviously, the Latino culture, but all cultures in the world. I think it's what makes us interesting, life interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So I like to experience them all. So I'm so excited to be part of this event and to see that La Casita it's always so good about that and putting something on like that. And Syracuse University embracing it also.
Thank you so much. That is very beautiful for you to say. But so you were talking about your mom and the love that you've had for music all your life. Was that what inspired you to create a band?
Yeah, it did. There was a lot of factors involved, but they bought me my first guitar, and I started learning how to play.
Yeah, I saw in a previous interview that you had that you're self-taught, right?
Wow, you really did your homework.
I did my homework.
I'm impressed. Yeah, pretty much self-taught. We really didn't have the money for lessons and all that. Or
how did that
big
impact
schooling.
The music that you would eventually do?
I think there's different ways to take a look at it. I believe all of us have a song in our heart and music. I've known people that aren't musicians that I'll hear them singing music they came up with, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, it's there. It's in our heart. There's rhythm, what I always say, the rhythm of life, our beat, our heartbeat,
Yeah.
There's a rhythm there. So, just the music, the rhythms, the first guitar, I wanted to learn. It depends on how bad you want things. And I really wanted to learn, and I thought, all these artists I was seeing, I thought it was pretty cool. And to hear the music move people and the way it impacts people. Then I had some friends that convinced me, that maybe you should form your own band, like a Latino band. I was working with other people, and I was very shy back then. I said, geez, I don't know if I could, do that myself. Yeah. But they kept encouraging me, and I kept doing that. And I started networking, meeting some wonderful people, some amazing musicians, some really world-renowned musicians. I was fortunate enough to meet some of them, and they were so supportive and encouraging. And when you have that in your life, my parents too, very supportive and encouraging. But you got to put the work in.
Yeah.
There's definitely some people that are born with a gift, something, you see these young little, amazing musicians, from wherever, and they're 5, 6 years old, and they're playing all this amazing.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of touched somehow, especially, but they still put their work in. You got to put your work in, so if you want it bad enough, you got to go for it.
How did you learn?
By watching other people, going out and seeing other musicians play, connecting, networking with people, hanging out, but I really my fingers would get blistered and bloodied, and working, and it's, you got to you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
So any young musicians out of there, any youngsters out there, if you really got to put the work in, and nowadays there's so much on the internet that it's not fair. Because I remember sitting there was no internet, figuring things out, the albums, going back and forth and really working hard, but, developing my ears. And whenever I had an opportunity where I thought there might be something to learn from somebody, I would go for it,
That's amazing. By the way, I love that breaking of the fourth wall right there that you did. How did you get so many people to follow you and be part of the band?
Just networking.
Just through the connections?
Yeah. You also gotta, I think people you can't sit waiting for opportunities. You need to go out and make opportunities for yourself too. I think a lot of people are, you're gonna sit home and wait for it to happen. I mean, it's possible, I guess, but it's gonna be rare. You gotta go out and meet people in the industry. You need to treat people the way you wanna be treated. I've had discussions with musicians, friends of mine, that have gone on to do wonderful things, A friend of mine is actually going to be opening up for Post Malone.
There's no
in a
way,
month.
Seriously?
Yeah, he's a drummer.
Wow.
But he went, and I remember when he was going to go pursue this dream of his, I told him, I said, if you're not pursuing your own dreams, you're more than likely pursuing somebody else's.
Yeah.
So, which is okay if that's what you want to do, but if you really want to pursue your own dreams, then you got to pursue your own dreams. And it may not be easy, but hard work pays off, and you got to go for it. So, and you got to network. I mean, the entertainment industry, a lot of it's about networking.
It's heavy.
And getting to know the people and treating people the way you want to be treated. You may not always get what you want, but you know what? Stay true to yourself, and people will remember that. Sometimes there's been moments where things haven't gone my way, and I could have gotten really upset. But I was just like, you know what? I'm at peace with it. That's okay. But then I remember getting a call back from the same person, and they said, well, you know what? Something else came up. Where if I would have had an attitude and been very upset what had happened, they said, they would have thought, I'm not going to call this guy.
Yeah, most likely you wouldn't have gotten a call back.
But, if you say, hey, that's okay, I understand those things happen. I hope there's an opportunity in the future or whatever, I appreciate it. And you got my number, and I would love to work with you, if the opportunity comes up. You leave it at that and you move on. You kind of find sometimes when one door shuts, if you keep focusing on that shut door, you won't see the other door that's open or the window that's opened. You know what I mean? And it's hard, especially if you're young, because some of those things hurt. But you hear about artists that have been so successful and have done great that the struggles they went through and how they were turned down so many times over and over again.
And then you see them today and they're A-listers and everything.
Yeah. You get defeated if you just stay down.
Yeah.
That's when you lose or that's when you're beat. You just got to get up and you got to kind of brush yourself off and go on. I've had experiences with wonderful people and some experiences not so wonderful, but that's okay. It kind of makes you appreciate the times when good things do happen. Because if you didn't have that comparison, so that's okay. I try and find the positive in everything. Even if I'm not working for it, maybe I met them. Or sometimes when people bring you down, it actually encourages you. Yeah. It lifts you up to do things and to pursue things that you might not have, or to say, you know what, you've heard these stories. I mean, like Michael Jordan, all the greats, they all have stories, about somebody that said something, you're like, well, I'm going to prove them wrong.
Of course.
Where you wouldn't have if, sometimes the hardest criticism is the best criticism for you. Because if they're being honest. And
sometimes your hardest critic is yourself.
Yeah. Oh, no, no doubt. A very good point. Yeah, because we're really tough. And I've been fortunate enough to meet some wonderful. And I noticed that they're still, as amazing as they are, they have deep insecurities. And they're always striving to be better. But that's what makes them great.
Yeah. But then I have a small question for you. Okay. So, given everything you've told us so far, were the rest of the people that are in your group, like, did you just find them throughout life, or were you raised with them?
Just through networking and experiences and going out and meeting people and going to see other bands, and introducing myself, being respectful, or throwing myself in the fire where, an opportunity may have come up that I wasn't totally comfortable with. But not too long ago, I was asked to do a movie score, to play a live presentation of this movie, and I had to go learn all the music, and I'm thinking to myself, I have never done this before.
What movie was it?
It actually was like 3 of them, Laurel and Hardy short silent movies.
Oh, okay.
And they wanted to have music put to this live music in a
really
big
cool.
theater. It was at an international film festival.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. So I when I got the call, I'm like, oh man, I've never really done it. I'm thinking to myself. And then I go, you know what? I said, I'd love to, man. Sure, thanks for the invitation. I knew I was going to have to work hard. But I was like uncomfortable with it, but I still threw myself in there, and it was a great experience. I learned a lot. I met some wonderful people. They invited me back, to do a few more things. Yeah. But it was, it was uncomfortable, but sometimes you have to do that. I remember I met he's become a really good friend. He's an amazing bass player. His name's Jimmy Haslip, and he's played with like Chaka Khan, Bruce Hornsby, all these great people. He's like,
wow, praise.
And he's produced. But I used to follow him because I loved the way he played bass, and I had an opportunity to meet him, and I knew he was Latino. I found that out.
Really?
So I'm speaking Spanish to him, and I'm waving, and he just caught my eye. I caught his eye or something, and he called him over, and we talked, introduced, and so I was at this concert. And I'm sitting there on a blanket watching, just in awe of the musicianship. And so I grabbed a piece of paper and I said, you know what, I'm going to write this guy a letter. So my brother's looking at me like, what are you doing? I said, I'm writing him a letter, basically. So I wrote him this letter about this project I was working on, blah, 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 and then at the end of the show, I went and handed it to him. And doesn't he come over with the whole band and introduces himself with the whole band? And we sat there, and he met my family. And he goes, you'll hear from me. I go, and I'm thinking, this guy meets 1,000 people a day. I'm never going to hear from him. And sure enough, a week later, I get a letter from him saying he wants to help out. He's interested in the project. He introduced me to all these amazing musicians. We did this recording. But it was just like, it was scary, I was scared, intimidated by this figure, that I looked up to for so long. But like I'm saying, sometimes, respectfully, you need to go and make opportunities. And what the greatest thing about it is that I looked at him for his musicianship. But as I got to know him, I said, wow, what a beautiful person. He inspired me more. He always inspired me as a musician, but he inspired me more as a person. His heart, so kind and giving and caring, and I was just like, wow, this is a beautiful person that's inspiring me to be more of like that towards others, And I was just like, wow, and now we've been friends for like, I don't know.
I'm sure he's gonna love this interview.
15 years, and now we talk about not just music but other things, But that is
it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah, if you put that up, but I look at that and sometimes, and also I'm a man of faith, I believe that sometimes people are brought into our lives for a moment, and then they may be removed because you either needed to bring something to them, or they're here to bring something to you.
Yeah.
So they may be a moment like that, and you may not work with them or communicate with them again, and that's okay, But at that moment, maybe it was good for either they needed to learn something or you needed to get something out of it or learn something, and that's okay. That's what makes things interesting and exciting.
Yeah.
About relationships and working together.
So you mentioned that. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was just like a little thing that you said, but you talked about you raising your hand and then noticing that he was Latino. How does the Latino-ness or your culture in general shape the music that you do and the connection that you have with other artists and your fans?
Music to me is about sharing, sharing music and collaboration. I mean, there's solo stuff you can go out and do, but there's something about working with somebody and listening to each other and communicating on stage. There's those fleeting moments. We joke about that. So you may be working hard for many, many years on stuff, and then there'll be you'll be on stage and there's almost like 5 seconds that take you to a place that's just very special. There's like a beautiful energy happening or something that's just moving. It's hard to explain. But those moments I think a lot of musicians live for. That when that's what I love about Latino music too, that grooves and people are happy and moving and dancing, those rhythms, those world rhythms. I like to take those world rhythms, what I did with my band, and introduce them to songs that people are familiar with. Like I've done things where I've taken like a Beatles song that people are familiar with and added Latin rhythms to it. Sting was great at that. A lot of majors, they started incorporating world beats into their music. I love that stuff when music starts crossing genres. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to take the Latin rhythms that I had heard as a child and bring them out to other people that may not have been aware of them. So here in Syracuse, it's not like I lived in a country where it's all Latino, So, it was a struggle at first, but people started embracing the rhythms and the music we were doing because it was different and they hadn't heard it. But it was still very uplifting and fun and happy rhythms, that and you'll see musicians sometimes when I collaborate with them, one of the biggest joys I get, and it brings me a big smile and joy, is to watch them enjoying that communication that we're having on stage, or those rhythms. When you look out and you see the audience, just moving and smiling and enjoying the music. It's just, sometimes I think that there's nothing more fulfilling, more beautiful, as a musician, to see that happening out, or I've written some songs and to hear them singing them is very special. And the joy music can bring to people, it's pretty powerful. I mean, it's pretty powerful. Music because I've had incidents where people have told me, they're struggling or going through something, and they just, thank you, the music just lifted me up. I needed that. Yeah,
music is the international language.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
But given the time and the subject matter of this interview, I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you to be playing in a cultural center that is focused on the Latino culture? And, well, you were raised here, so I know that you weren't raised necessarily in Puerto Rico.
Right.
But, of course, like, La Casita gives you that home.
I think what's done here is amazing. La Casita is a gem in the city. It really is. What they do to embrace not only the culture, the Latino culture, but to have a place that they're passionate about, that others can come visit and feel comfortable and learn, about the culture. And it's always so welcoming here, and it's always such a beautiful vibe, the energy. That's what I love about La Casita. It's always been the case. And to see Syracuse University supporting it too, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? That they really believe in it and they embrace it. And I think the folks here, everybody that works here, they do a tremendous job.
Thank you so
much. They really do. It's not easy, Yeah. But, because we're small. But, the West Side, it's a big Latino community, and I know La Casita does things to help also the people out. But they always have open arms, welcoming hearts for everybody to come in and look at what we have, It's yours too. Come enjoy it, that type of thing. And whenever I get an opportunity to come here and help out or be a part of it or play some music here, it's truly an honor. Well, I'm always humbled by the invitation.
From La Casita, we can honestly say that thank you so much for you playing here and your amazing personality and good nature. And thank you so much for being here.
I'm humbled. My honor.
Well, we would like to invite you all to come to the exhibit Weird Barrio / Por Mi Barrio on September 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. This is Edgar Pagán. If you want to learn more about him, please come to the exhibit. And yeah, thank you for watching.
You'll enjoy it, you'll love it. It's just a beautiful place and a beautiful vibe here. Mil gracias.
En el corazón de Syracuse, un lugar especial donde culturas se unen en un gran festival. La casita cultural, un hogar sin igual, recibe a todos.